In this short and simple keynote, I would like to present a medicine wheel that has its roots in Freudo-Lacanian psychoanalysis and finds its application in the social sphere. First, we will see the psychological logic of this wheel as we discuss the genesis of the psychodynamic structure as well as what is commonly known as regression. We start our lives in the state of consciousness of the real. This is the basic state of consciousness, which is nothing more than pure consciousness, which is in the next stage, the mirror stage, is being taken over and subdued and subjected and controlled by the ego. So these streams of pure consciousness, these emotional energies are being chained and put down, imprisoned, you may say, as the ego rises to its throne on top of what is spontaneous and natural inner life. When this mirror stage is complete, we talk of neurosis. The ego is the master. It rules the energies of the soul. It controls and represses. It freezes and blocks the streams of emotional energies as it chooses in function of its own life or appearance or continuation and upholding of itself as basically a self-image, a kind of mask, an appearance that seeks to keep itself up. In neurosis, we always have a return of the repressed because the subjected, subdued, repressed emotional streams tend to want to break through the barrier of the ego. But in psychosis, the whole of the collection, the collective whole of the energies show this urge to uprise and not only partially break through the ego here and there, but fully flood and flow and stream so hard that the ego is like pushed away and drowned, if you will, or killed or vanquished, like by this powerful stream of emotional uprising. When this fight of the three emotional energies against the blocking and controlling and dominating ego is complete, and the ego is is completely gone and overthrown, then we find ourselves again in the state of pure awareness, which is called enlightenment. It is the state of consciousness of the shaman who has gone through the dark night of the soul and overcome the ego. Now we can make an analogy with the seasons of the year, where we start in a warm, sunny climate where everything is happy, and then comes with the appearance of the ego coming to control us. Then comes the darkness, the days grow darker and colder, the warmth of the summer starts to disappear. And in neurosis, we find ourselves completely frozen. Everything lies still. There is nothing that moves anymore. But of course, the seasons turn and the sun comes back, and what is maybe emotional energy starts to flow again. The frost melts away, it becomes spring, and when this melting of the frozen energies continues, we find ourselves back in the happy state of consciousness of the sunny summer. Now, to draw a social parallel, because we can see at one point the soul, at another point the ego comes to occupy, control and dominate the soul, which it can, maybe for a while at last, and then again the soul comes to overthrow the ego and shines again in all its brightness. Now this struggle of the original awareness against a repressive, controlling and dominating instance can be found and painted and drawn out in the social sphere as well, I believe, where we find a sort of sociodynamics and a genesis of a sociodynamic structure. Also, with the sociopathology and the regressive phenomena, which can in fact be seen as a kind of natural evolutionary process instead of truly a disease. So in the social sphere, we begin our sunny summer in the freedom. It is just a being. It is the pure life, natural, spontaneous flowing of life energy, of libido, and the stage of the real. But then comes, of course, the occupying ego, or maybe an occupying instance, which may be another people, another tribe. They start repressing and controlling and dominating the originally free people. So like the soul is occupied by the ego, the original native people might be controlled and dominated by another tribe, another people. And when this conquest of paradise is complete, we live in a state where the occupier, the controller, rules every movement of life through repression and freezing energies and perhaps in this case people, instances of life. But as the soul fights against the ego, as the warmth struggles against the frost, there is in the social sphere a kind of psychosis as well, which we call a revolution, because the whole of the repressed, the originally free people, rise up against the tyrant, the dictator, just like the soul rises up against the ego and tries to flush and flow and stream and push him over and make him disappear, just like in the quest for shamanic enlightenment, the emotional energies fight the repressor. And when this revolution, this uprising succeeds, the original state of consciousness is restored. The shamanic, enlightened, free spirit that was original and native, the state of consciousness of the real, the sunny summer, returns to inspire, in this case, the social dynamics and life. Now I compare this to the seasons of the year, with the sun and the winter, the frost and the warmth, but we can also compare this simply to the turning of the sun throughout the day, where we start in a sunny and a light. We start life, we start social or psychological life in the light of day. And with the ego, clouds come before the sun, the night falls, it becomes the time of the evening, the darkness comes. And when we are occupied by an controlling tribe or people who function socially as the ego does psychologically, we find ourselves in the night, in the full darkness, where nothing much is moving. But of course, the sun comes again in the morning and the darkness is chased away by the sun, like in the revolution, like in psychotic melting of the frozen energies. And when the light ever shines brighter, all of the darkness disappears and we return to the original state of consciousness, the sunny summer, the freedom, the shamanic enlightenment of the real. and find ourselves once again in the bright light of day. So that was my medicine wheel, the seasons, the times of the day, as we can find them in the psychological sphere as well in the social dynamics of an oppressive force and a controlled and dominated instance, which might be the individual soul or the collective of the tribe. So we can see how this all turns and evolves. And I thought it would be nice to put a few words next to one another and hope it makes sense to you. Thank you.